Welcome to the Atomic Impact Podcast. I'm your host, Jason Osborn. And on this podcast, we interview successful business owners for them to share atomic, impactful lessons that they've learned throughout the course of their business and share them with us so we can all learn together. As always, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way that established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects. We use this method to book 26 qualified leads and sales calls in 10 days without any ad spend, outreach, in the social media posting, or any of the old ineffective traditional marketing methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. The link to that will be in the show notes below. But on today's episode, we have Matt White. Matt is the owner of PlatypusOS, where they provide AI management platforms, and also Qebot. Qebot. You're going to have to correct me on that. I almost remembered it, Matt. Where it's a SaaS platform. What's the name of that again?
Qebot, you got it the second time.
Qebot. Okay, I was thinking, I'm thinking quinoa when I see it, and that's why I mess up when I say it. So, but listen, man, thanks so much for being on the show today. Really do appreciate it. And I want to start off with asking you a question that I always love to start with, and that is this: if you were able to somehow go back in time to when you started your first business, but knowing what you know now, what would you do differently in the first 12 months?
Oh, that's a good question. I think probably the first 12 months, I would go back and tell myself to really start to listen more to our first initial customers that we brought on, right? I think every entrepreneur, when they come into like building something, they have this idea that is going to blow the world away. It's going to be something crazy and insane, and everybody's going to love it. And then you launch and you're like, you continue thinking that you're like, this was a great idea. I don't know why everybody's not listening to me and want to buy this. And so you kind of continue to build towards the same thing for too long before you realize, okay, we should start talking to our customers and realize what they actually want. I think we went too hard for too long on our initial product, which is like our own website builder product, and didn't just kind of get out of our own heads and start to build what our clients actually wanted. And it took us probably a year and a half for us to really start to focus more on what our customers wanted and build towards what they were saying all along. So I think going back and be like, hey, shut your mouth, shut your brain off a little bit and start just listening to what people tell you. I think that is one thing that a lot of entrepreneurs probably have a challenge with.
Yeah, I love that. On that basis, one of the things that I see is a lot of people, they will listen to customers, but then they're pulled in a million different directions because everyone's got an opinion around stuff. So
Sure.
how did you protect that so that you weren't being pulled? Because I'm sure, I don't know if you've added every single feature that every single person suggested, maybe you have, maybe not, but how do you ring fence that so that you can, as you said, stay moldable to where you're going, so you actually provide something that the majority of your customers want, but where you're not being pulled everywhere and it ends up just bombing?
Yeah, I think one of the hardest things, especially when you're early on, is you don't have a huge customer base to be able to kind of pull and see what makes sense and what people want and people don't want, right? If you're just getting, if you say you have your first 10, 15 customers on and they're giving you requests, you're like, okay, these people want this, or that. So let's build for it. Once you get to a place where you're scaled up and you have more customers, then you can start polling people saying, okay, we're getting these requests in. Let's send out a poll to see what people actually do want and how we can actually focus our engineering or our product teams into what is going to be operational. So I think one of the early things we did was we would take ideas or requests from the few customers that we had coming in, and then more kind of take it to like social media or to like Reddit or places like that and say, hey, we're building this. What can you tell us you would want in a product like this? So even trying to reach outside of our product or giving our product for free away to some people to start to understand, hey, can you give us feedback, real feedback on what this is? And that can be expensive, but it can also help you make sure you're not making wrong decisions in the way you're building and what you're kind of developing towards. And I think that was what helped us really kind of hone in on what our customers could want and what they did need. And helped really kind of reposition ourselves to be like a marketplace of SaaS tools that were easy to use, simple to like connect and operate with.
Yeah, that's really interesting, man. I think that's a great way to do it, especially to reach outside of just your own customer base, find out what's going, see what those key components are, but also not trying to add everything in to where all of a sudden you've got something so big and clunky that maybe it's not Hugely helpful. So really
Yeah.
interesting, man. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I think one of the things too
Great.
is make it not too salesy. Like you can reach out to like small business owners. For us, that was what we were going after and saying, hey, we're going to give you just something for free for a little bit. Tell us what you think. We're not trying to sell you. And I think that, again, it can be scary because you're just giving your product away for free to people, but it's where you're going to find out what works, what doesn't.
All right, that's a great topic. Let's talk about that for a second because
Sure.
I love talking about things that scare us in business as well as challenges, which I'll ask you another question around challenges here in a second.
Sure.
That scary bit, okay, gosh, we're giving this away for free. Is this the right thing to be doing? All that kind of, well, let's take that step. Um, we all face that on different levels in business, no matter if we're brand new or we've been around for, donkey's years. We all face that fear as we level up
Sure.
and grow. What were some of the things that you did to overcome that fear of stepping out and doing something that may have felt like a risk?
Yeah, I mean, I would say our recent launch of PlatypusOS, the new AI platform that we have, right? I mean, we were running a successful business with Qebot. Things were going well. And then I think my co-founder and I looked at each other. We were like, okay, we've been doing this for 12 years. What's next? What can we do that would be our next kind of fun venture? And so we started playing with AI and understanding what we could do there. When we first started 2 years ago, the models weren't where they are now. And so we were just kind of trying to build whatever we could think of. But then we started to build into like a full AI like management platform. You got your chat, you got your workflows, you got your automations, your assistants, and started to launch that, not knowing. I mean, it's kind of a crowded market. Everybody's trying to build assistants, trying to understand where we can kind of fit into that model, what it looks like. And again, kind of just stepping out of something that was successful and doing well and starting to funnel some of my own cash into something new was something scary. It's something that you're like, okay, why are we doing this? Why are we just walking away from something? But I think this happens with a lot of people that are kind of like us entrepreneurs, right? So you get to a point where like things get maybe a little stagnant and you're kind of itching. You're like, okay, what next? What can we do next? And I think that's just a bug that some of us in this kind of mindset need to feed. And then if you've somebody that you've stepped out and built your own thing and created companies, you probably have that little crazy switch in you that overcomes the fear. The fear is there, but you're just like, oh, push it to the side, bring it up to your
Yeah.
therapist later, I guess. And I think that's kind of what I've had to do is just kind of push it down a little, which sounds terrible, and just say, you know what, I think we have something here. Let's run with it. And if it isn't successful, then we move on to the next thing. And I think that's something kind of a mindset of this crazy world you're just gonna have to live with almost, if that makes
Yeah,
sense.
yeah. Oh, 100%, 100%. I think anyone that's an entrepreneur can resonate with that.
Yeah.
It's a good thing and it's a bad thing. I think it's just being able to understand, sometimes people just jump from thing to thing and not give it
Yeah.
enough time to build. But as where you are, you've built it. Now you're like, oh, you've got that itch to kind of do something else. So yeah, really, really
Yeah.
interesting. Well, talking about that fear side, as mentioned earlier, I always love to talk about challenges as well, because we all have them. Sometimes it can feel like we're the only ones that have ever gone through a particular challenge, which obviously isn't true, but it can feel that way. So I'd like to just ask, like, what's the number one biggest challenge that you faced in your business at any point in time? And what's the lesson that you learned from that?
Yeah, that's a really great question. I think one of the biggest things that we saw was when COVID hit, right? 2020, 21, 21. We were doing a lot of business with Qebot, with my first business, with like marketing agencies and small businesses, right? And once the world shut down, one of the first things most small businesses turned off was their marketing agency. And so
Mhm.
we hit like I want to say 50, 55% reduction in revenue within like
Wow.
4 months. It just
Oh,
blew us out of the water. And we had really focused a lot of our time and our effort, really focused on marketing agencies. And I think that's where, I mean, we had a few hundred on with thousands of clients, from there. And I think that's where we really kind of realized, oh, we need to diversify who we are working with a lot more. We need to put up some safeguards, some rails around what our business is to make sure that, we can actually survive a market crash or something like that. And that's what we did. We really kind of restructured our business a bit. We started going out after a lot more like direct clients or like franchise businesses, Again, partnerships with like the Better Business Bureau so that we could get more direct access to businesses and not rely on like one of those agencies that went out of business had, I think, like 750 small businesses they were running into us. And that was a huge hit when they just closed their doors. We're like, okay, wow, what do we do? We got to not rely on, like a handful of companies that are basically funding our entire business because anything could happen. And I think that's one kind of methodology we moved forward with, is making sure that we're not relying on, a certain segment or a certain, number of accounts that are going to run the business for us, because you just never know what's going to happen. They could get a new employee one day, new VP of product, that says, okay, you're done with that product, we're going to move to something else. And that can blow your entire, year out of the water. So really kind of refocusing on making sure we have a diversified kind of client base that we can weather if something happens within an industry or something like that. So I think people need to start continuing thinking that, especially with AI moving in the way it is. Like, industries are changing so fast right now. So make sure you understand where your guardrails are, where your hedges are, to build your business and find new avenues of revenue, new avenues of growth is going to be important.
Yeah. And speaking of that, industry changing so much, what are your goals with the business? Both, I don't know if both businesses kind of the same goal, or if you're focusing on, one more than the other right now. What would you like to achieve in the next, say, 2 to 3 years?
Yeah. So one of the big things that I think about a lot is kind of the SaaS industry, right? My first company is a fully SaaS company. We sell software as a service, subscription model. I think one of the reasons I think that we started building PlatypusOS and the AI movement is to help businesses, small, medium, large businesses, start to utilize AI in a more effective way. It's all centralized, it's easier to manage, it's more robust in what it can do. But I see a future where the SaaS model is going to change substantially pretty soon. We already have in our platform, we're starting to test with a few clients in the PlatypusOS platform, where they can build full software solutions for themselves. So if they have a CRM they don't like, they can build a CRM customized and bespoke to their business that their users can customize to their own, way they operate. And I think that's going to upend the SaaS model in a very serious way in the next couple of years. One of the reasons that we looked at, okay, what should we be doing to hedge against, the business that we're operating right now? So I think our goal is to kind of continue to run Qebot as we do, with PlatypusOS being a kind of a bolt-on feature, because I think for the next few years, SaaS will stay around and be successful, but with AI continuing to integrate more into it, so people don't have to sit at a computer and use software, they can have the AI do it for them. And then in the next few years, having AI build the software and run the software completely for you. And I want to be a part of that. I want to be one of the leaders in kind of that motion. So that's my goal.
Awesome, man. That's awesome. That's so cool. Well, for people that are wanting to get in touch with you and learn a little bit more about how you can help them, what's the best way for them to do that, Matt?
Yeah, sure. You can go to PlatypusOS. So it's just like the animal, PlatypusOS.com, or you can just email me straight. I take emails all the time. So Matt, MATT at PlatypusOS.com, or connect with me on LinkedIn. You can find me, Matthew White, or look up PlatypusOS. Love connecting with people. I think the biggest thing that we can do here in our industry as an entrepreneurs is connect with network. Your network is your worth. So yeah, connect with me. Let's have a chat.
Definitely. Well, I definitely recommend everyone reach out to Matt, connect with him, particularly if you're looking for any sort of software that you mentioned, or the whole AI movement and what's going on with things. There's a lot going on with that, and just being able to speak with someone that has an idea around it, you never know how Matt and his company might be able to help you out. So Matt, thanks so much for being on the show today. I really do appreciate it. Been really great hearing your business experience and just wisdom throughout the years of running a business. So thank you so much for being on. And as a reminder to everyone listening, this show is sponsored by the LinkedIn Reverse Podcast Method, the new way that established businesses are creating a reliable acquisition channel of conversations with their ideal prospects that's relationship-led, that doesn't rely on any of the old, ineffective marketing methods that everybody hates. To find out more, direct message me on LinkedIn to have a chat. That's Jason A. Osborn. The link to that is in the show notes below. And until next episode, stay inspired.